What time is it? Your show. Yeah, what time is it? Your show. Yeah, what time is it? Your show. Yeah, he's back from the dead. Your show. Putting it on the map, yeah. Saskatoon. Right next to New York. New York. Yeah, what show, yeah. Your show. What time is it? Your show. Yeah, time to talk some shit, yeah. Your show.
You've tuned in, yeah.
Yeah, fun Maggie. Bark, bark, wolf, wolf, who wants a treat, yeah? Keep listening.
Well, a very happy Tuesday to you, and welcome to your show. Monday to Friday, 4 to 5 p.m., always live, and we're pretty sure we're still the only ones doing it in Saskatoon. So thank you for being a part of this lovely adventure we go on every day. We also love to start the show with fake categories that we make up and say we're number one in. Today, we are the number one category on YouTube that has an entire live show produced by a dragon. Our dragon is on the 1 and 2s today, and he's our sweet, beautiful prince. He's also the co-host, by the way, of The Viewing Room, the hottest movie review show in the history of this studio. And I will tell you, they got a good one for you. Moulin Rouge. The boys had a very in-depth look. The boys being LB, our other sweet, beautiful prince, along with Dragon. And their show is so fantastic. Be sure to check it out as the new episode, Moulin Rouge, drops today. I was talking to the boys who we are about to get to here right away about how unbelievably brutal invoices are, especially when you're still learning how to do them and you leave parts of the invoice on and it gets sent to the next person. And then you go on this whole cycle and you have to resend the old ones and you end up giving yourself way more time that needs to be spent on said things. And thank goodness we have friends like Mike and Rochelle over at Pet Planet on 8th Street, because I explained to them what happened and they're just so happy to be a part of this right here. This is the Maggie Cam. Look at her. Hey, you're going to get sneezies. Don't march. Hey, no sneezies, okay? Good girl. The Maggie Cam for our friends over at Pet Planet on 8th Street, your pet's natural grocer, Mike and Rochelle, as well as Leroy, their beautiful dog, who just so happens to be dating Margaret. Always there to give you the most incredible deals in the history of pet stores, period. As well, if you go after hours, you'll see Kirsten, Shar, or Chris, and they will also do that. And when you send them a wrong invoice, they don't get mad. They're just so understanding and so kind and so amazing, and we love you all so much over there. As we are also getting ready. Tomorrow, we're heading back into Pet Planet on 8th Street to do another Adventures with Maggie shoot, as we are going to go shopping for Halloween costumes. It's going to be another spooktacular here on the Dufferin Ave Media Network as we start to ramp up our Halloween prowess. Not sure if that's the right word, but we're going to go with it. So to Mike and or Rochelle and Leroy, we will be there tomorrow to say hello and do some filming. So thank you again for being so awesome. Also on Tuesdays, before this very live show, we record an audio-only podcast called the All Out Angst Podcast. Episode 13 went down today, and then right after we record that, we jump right onto here and do an hour of live. Basically, it's like a longer All Out Angst podcast, and the co-hosts of said show are here now. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Matt from all the bands and Uncle Mike!
Hey-o. Yeah.
Arsenio.
I really want that to come back. Me and Aaron have been trying for the last year. So
I'll do it with you, bro.
Yeah, it seems pretty.
I can't do the grunting well. I got to work on that.
Yeah,
Do you say who? Or like
I'm saying ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. But I didn't really think about it. That was.
There you go.
Yeah.
Questions for another time. Welcome back again, fellas. It's always so nice to see you. We had an incredible podcast recording right before this show as we sort of broke into something very cool. And it's not like a bank or like someone's stash or anything, but it's basically a list of things that Matt from all the bands has learned from touring with all the bands. And it's sort of a do's and don'ts checklist. And we got into it a little bit on the podcast, but now we're going to continue with that list and we're going to get into some more other stuff here as well. But the fun part is, if you listen to that All Out Angst podcast and then you came to this show, episode 127, looking for the back end of that, you have found the right place, as we're going to get right back into this do's and don'ts list, as it's a very good sort of reminder to all those bands out there looking to get into the touring and looking to do all the things that bands do, as this will save you a lot of time and, dare I say, a lot of money.
Absolutely. That's why we were doing it.
Yes, and we're all about learning here. So we're going to hop right back into that list that Matt from All the Bands has brought. That's the one. And we're going to start going through these and start helping all those bands out there.
We're going to just pick right up where we left off. So this one I have written down. Okay, so when you're booking a tour, initially you want to bring your gear. You've got your nice orange cabinets. You got all. But if you can arrange with either the promoter or like the bands that are on certain shows, to use their cabinets as a backline, that saves, like, it pretty much cuts your costs in half. Where for starters, you're not, again, I was mentioning with like big drum kits and stuff, often you'll get there and they're like, we don't have room to store that. So, and there's already cabinets, from the other bands. Mm-hmm. So often you'll have to like leave that in a place that's similar to like an Avenue Q cell, where, it's almost certainly going to get ripped off. But more than anything, you're spending a ton of fuel hauling this around. Often you're like lifting, going up stairs or like L-shaped stairs and moving all these things. If you can just arrange to use like someone else's, like, it's the best way to do it.
Now, but the two things I have with this is, number one, most guitar players or anyone that plays music, they have their favorite amp. They have their favorite this, they have their favorite that. And I feel like a lot of times you feel like you might not be at 100% when you don't have that one thing that that you're so true with. Is that something, or am I just? The beauty
is you've got your head or like or like a processor where you're getting your like distortion and your sounds from, and that just plugs into a normal like guitar cabinet.
So it can go around.
Kind of mix and match. Like some like real dork would be like, well, I can definitely hear the frequencies are a bit different here, but in general you can match your heads. So like. Basically, the guy before it'll sound totally different than yours because you're getting your sound from like the head port.
So it'd be more of an aesthetic thing then. Like you just want to show off how sweet your amp is.
Yeah, and like people are comfortable, and I know like you don't want to like impose on people.
That was my other question.
But that's the thing. It's like sometimes you got to impose. Like,
how would you know if you don't ask?
That's the worst thing. Is they're going to be like, no, we've got specific things, or like with those striker shows, they use just processors where all they do is they have a computer that just plugs into the board, and that's it. Nice. So like we wouldn't be able to use that. So that was a situation where we had to wrangle up our own cabinets. But yeah, this is something where you're going to save hundreds of dollars of gas. You're going to save, like oftentimes too, like you're staying at someone's house and you get there at 3:00. Now you got to move all your gear in because you don't want it to sit out. So it just saves a lot of work. So,
absolutely. And it's also another good tip and or lesson for bands to always be bros with the bands you're on tour with. Yes. Make sure you are a good human being and you show them that there's a good working relationship there, because then it's a lot easier to say, hey, is it okay if we do this? Even if you give them a kickback, maybe you pay them a couple bucks to save.
I've had guys be like, hey, I'll give you $20 if I can use your cabinet. I'm like, you don't have to, but I'll take it.
I'll totally take it, yeah.
But it always comes back around where, it's like 6 months later, now they're coming from Winnipeg or whatever, and they need a cabinet, and we can be like, yeah, sure, use ours. And like, I'm always fine with that, If at some point one of them blows or whatever, I feel like I've got my use out of them. But it's just share them. And like again too, for the listener, they don't have to watch, like everyone in the venue doesn't have to see all these cabinets come off stage and get moved. It's just more movement, more wasted space. Where like sometimes you're like not feeling it, and are you gonna stay for another band? And it's like, oh, they got to move all that stuff. I'm out of here.
And there's a reason we end every show around here talking about the importance of karma and how real it is. And if you really want to turn your life around, just start doing really good things, and that plays into it too. Yeah. Like you said, what goes around is all around, like they say on the Trailer Park Boys.
And yeah, I just don't see any real negatives to it. It's not like they're gonna use up the good sounds from your amp before you use it or whatever.
Well, and you see a lot of times at shows like. Bands will share a drum kit, right? Like,
and it's great,
right? And like, I would find that is going to get more usage,
Yeah.
right? Then
And that one, like I always, God bless the drummers for allowing people to use, because we've had times where like, Corey's had like brand new skins, and then like some grind drummer comes in and like they're brand new, and then he goes to sit down and there's dents everywhere. Like that kind of sucks. That's generally it's like common practice where if you're sharing a drum kit, you bring your own breakables, so you're bringing your I guess like cymbals and stuff like that, but everything else.
Well, especially when you're playing that hard, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's the more sharing that can happen with the bands, the better. And like, I feel like there's some competition, like obviously you want to be the best but like you're all just bands, you're just musicians wanting to play and start a scene. So like, there's no need for that petty stuff.
Yeah, egos.
Yeah,
egos, man, and Lord knows there's a lot of those in the music industry. So it would be nice if you could just get to a point where that was how you did things. Maybe that's comes down to as well. Like, I don't know, you can't really pick who you go on tour with, I imagine, because everything's different and all those moving parts.
There's been times where we had people come and, hey, we got this tour. Do you want to do it with us? And we're kind of like, oh, these guys are dicks. No, let's
exactly.
not do
And that's
it.
sort of weeding it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's such a small scene. Once you get like word gets out that you're the dick band or whatever, it's like
you're done.
You're blacklisted.
You're done. Okay.
What else do we got over there?
So I guess keeping humble again. This is like my go-to. I've never in my life when I went on a tour used anything other than a black garbage bag for my like suitcase. Now I've got a few reasons, and usually I'll have two garbage bags, but everyone needs to play Tetris, where you're putting your like, bags and different gear and stuff. With a garbage bag, you can just shove it anywhere and it just fits in. So like that's the one thing. And then two, with the second garbage bag, it's nice to have for your
laundry,
used stuff,
your
or whatever.
soiled garments.
Yeah. So, and again, anytime you're staying at someone's place, hit them up, ask, hey, can we do some laundry?
Yeah.
Because man, the van stinks, and we've had times like I know Skeleton Witch came into Amigos like 2/3 of the way through their tour, and like a wall, you got
just
punched in the face with that BO, and I don't want to be that band.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's nice to have the secondary garbage bag or whatever to store your. And again, that's not really a money saver, but I just feel like it's something I've always did, and it's
smart
because it is annoying. Like when you're on tour and you're like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're trying to fit in the last few things, and it's like, how did we do this? Where like when you've got like pliable bags that can kind of just push, it saves a lot of fights.
I also got one more for you with the importance of having garbage bags. It's funny. I'm talking about Seahawk again from the Water Sliding Bros with Seahawk and Benji, a beer review show now it's turned into that we are going to be debuting soon. I went on a canoe trip with them, an overnight canoe trip. So we went down the river in these canoes, and there was like 4 canoes, and Seahawk and I were in the same canoe. I had all my stuff in a garbage bag, so like a sleeping bag and smokes and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And we tied up, and there was, don't do this if you're canoeing, but there was some drinking going on. We tied up and did that for a bit until we were feeling good. Then it was time to untie and get to our spot for camp. This is the one and only time I've ever done a canoe trip, by the way. And so once we're all untied, Seahawk looks at me. He's like, all right, I'm going to turn around and we're going to get going here. I'm like, okay. And we had a pretty beat up canoe, and it was already looking pretty low, and he did the old stand up, turn around, push too hard here, then push too hard here, then push too hard here, and overboard. So he goes over, I go over, and the garbage bag stayed floating, and all I could see was my Ziploc bag with my cigarettes and with a couple little left-handed ciggies in there. And that's all I saw. I said, save the smoke, since we're in the middle of this river. Luckily we had life jackets on. We were at least smart enough to do that. And it was still a real struggle to get everything. But Sea Dog got the smokes, and then we got the garbage bag, and then we took the canoe and swam it over to the beach and flipped it and got back up. But now I had no dry clothes, and it started to rain. So we got a bonfire going. It's raining, and I have no clothes, but I did have my garbage bag. So I took my feet, put it up here, and just both of them got my feet up and put my feet right through and pulled it right up like a diaper, tied it off, and wore a garbage bag all night. So it's also a form of literal clothing.
And I have used it as well when we're staying, because you'll stay at someone's place, and there's like, it's usually like a studio place, or like there's not even a bedroom, and there's like 4 of us that are there.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So like you find a little corner of the floor that you can sleep on. Garbage bag, that's a pillow right there.
So many uses.
Put your dirty undies in it and put
There
your
it
head
is.
on it. There you go.
I have did that.
You need to lay on something.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
You know, I probably prefer the clean underwear, but if you're out, then that's all you got.
Might be the end of the tour. It might be laundry day. That's all I got is
These
dirty
tips,
underwear.
these tips are amazing.
So yeah, I've mentioned as well. So I think we did this definitely just outside of Vancouver, like one of the suburbs. I don't know if it was Langley or but we went to a civic center. So like rather than getting a hotel, like because we can just sleep in our van. Like especially at that point, we were just like 3 dudes. We didn't care. We were young. Our backs weren't like as bad as they are now. So like springing for a hotel, just you're only doing it, to use the washroom and to have a shower. But if you go to a civic center and it's like you even find some coupons or whatever, it's like $8 entrance. You got a shower. You can use the washrooms. You go
Get a hot tub.
Hot tub.
Yeah, dude.
When we were doing this, I think it was just me and Murray that did this. But yeah, it was like me, Murray, and then it was empty other than like a geriatric aquasizing class. And like, man, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Like good tunes.
Yeah.
Cheering them on.
tubbing,
Yeah. That's when I did a couple of tours. Well, they weren't really tours. It was just tour managing for 911 Turbo. Yeah. We go out to Banff and we'd stay in the Weird House with the Rose and Crown. Then Grandma would always get us to go for the hot tub at the hot springs up top.
Yeah.
And just, man, like the day after, when you're hurting and you get in there and you got to do another show the next night, fully recharged. Like the power of that hot spring hot tub is just unbelievable. And it's such a good thing that you wouldn't think about because that one's a little more expensive. But like you say, a civic center, way easier.
And it's so great as far as like the night before you're headbanging until whenever. Then you just cool down before you load your stuff back into the van. Then lots of times, like I know the way we had it set up where like Murray would kind of be like, just like sit up, like sleeping, sitting up. And then there would be like one bench that I think Scott would use. And then I'd always like pack the stuff in the back, like the drum kit, so there would be just like a little area for me that I could sluice my body in, and then just sleep on the drum kit or whatever.
But so cozy, right?
Oh, cozy, but like you wake up and your back does hurt, so the hot tub was a nice
it loosens you back up and it gets you ready for the next night.
Yeah, so okay, so let's keep on going with my bum tips here.
Hold on. I will reset here because that's what you're supposed to do in talk shows. We are hanging out with the All That Angst podcast boys, including Matt from All the Bands and Uncle Mike from All the Natural Products, as we are doing a continuation of something we started over on this week's podcast, which will drop on Thursday. Take it away, brother.
Okay, so this one I have marked down as a fail. So
another fail. Here we go. Do not do this.
So again, this was when we made it to Toronto and we had loaded our stuff into our Chris and Natalie's place that we were staying at their place. And now we were just enjoying Toronto or whatever. But again, we just don't have that much money. So like, and they didn't have much money at the time. Like they were just working in the restaurant industry and kind of just making their way in the world today.
There it is. Everything you got.
Yeah. So a move that they would do is when you're going to use the subway or whatever, the one token it's $2 to get like a subway ride. Yeah. Very reasonable.
Very reasonable.
Yeah. And what they would do is the two of them would go through the turnstile at once.
Ooh, boy.
So they're like, yeah, we've been doing this and save money. And so we're like, yeah, fuck it, let's do it. And they go through, and then we're like, all right, this is awesome. And obviously there's cameras, so it worked for them because if it's just 2 people and you go for it, it's kind of like, oh, they got us. But
can't really tell.
If they're looking at cameras, they're like, hey, people are going into it. So it was me and I forget who else, but we went, put in the token, and it just did nothing. And we're like, yeah, we got us. And I think we ended up just having to like walk like about 10 blocks to where we met them or whatever. But so that was a fail. That was one where we were trying to be a little too frugal, and it got us.
Especially with the price of that token. That's something you could sort of squeeze out. Yeah. But at the same time, it all adds up.
It's very intoxicating once you get a few of these in. You're like, oh man, we can save some more money.
Yep. Yeah, chasing the high.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. This one again, will be another fail.
Oh no.
So this, I'm just saying, don't order late night feast after the gig, especially if you've like drank a lot.
I do that all the time.
So we were in Montreal and we just played with a band called Alcohol Later, of course.
Amazing.
And we were going to go stay at their place, and we were like, oh, yeah, man, we're going to need some food. And there's like 12 of us, and we were all extremely into the sauce at this point or whatever, except our driver Scott wasn't.
Very responsible.
Or no, it was.
The driver was.
I
that's
honestly
over
don't
there.
remember. But yeah, I was in the back of our like little rented minivan, and we went to this poutine place, and we were like, "What's the the best, biggest poutine we can get?" So we got this party poutine where it's got like hot dogs and peppers, and it comes in like a lasagna dish or whatever. So yeah, it's like whatever. I don't know. Big.
Yeah, it's a trough.
Yeah, I'm in the back with this like poutine on me or whatever. We get to the place, get there, all of us just continue drinking because we were in the mood for partying or whatever. We just played a cool show in Montreal. In the morning, we woke up and this nice, glorious
No.
So like all of those $2 savings that we had built up, we lost
out the
on
window.
a $100 poutine.
Dude.
Like I guess we get the story out of it, but that's about it.
Did
You
you at
just eat it
least
for breakfast.
Like
That's what I'm saying. Did you at least try to eat it, or was it just too rank?
Like you see, I'm not like those other guys like Brian or Sam. We're like once something's been in that danger zone of
Right.
like 0 to 4 for over 4 hours, I'm not touching it. That's just me.
That's fair.
Probably wise.
Yeah.
I mean, probably keeps your gut and
Yeah.
stomach and anus happy, you know?
I could concur with
Your
that.
bowels,
Yeah.
you know?
But yeah, so like
Back in the day when I lived with my main man Lame Train, we would always order the bacon grilled cheese sandwich and poutine from an old restaurant that used to be open. It is no longer open anymore. Incredible restaurant though. And it was to the point we'd order like 3 or 4 times a week. So we'd always like be flirting with the front desk girl. Like we had like a whole routine.
they're like, sir, we suggest for your health, please stop.
The exact opposite. They'd send us extra and thank us for all the business.
Yeah.
And I
Putting
ate a
our
lot
kids
of
through college.
I ate a lot of exactly. Ate a lot of poutines in the next day. So I put it back, and it's okay if you refrigerate it, but if you don't, you're in big, and you have to heat it up.
Yeah.
You can't eat cold poutine.
And again, like we had talked about on the All Out of Angst, how it's like always have a cooler with ice if you're ever.
There you
But
go.
again, this wouldn't have fit
too
in there.
big,
Like,
right.
It's too big. But you know what I mean? We could have taken some of it. We could have reclaimed and got some replay out of it, but it was just.
Could have taken your garbage bag, cut the poutine in half, put the poutine in the garbage bag, put it in there.
this garbage bag do?
See, and I'm in the other sort of thought that what would be a good thing to buy in a big quantity, like it probably just like pizza would probably be the go-to, hey?
Yeah.
Just
pizza's
because
good. But
it's-
again, like when we were talking on the All Out of Angst, or maybe I didn't even mention this, but yeah, like anytime you have it with your rider, always pilfer on it.
Yes.
So then when it's 3, just like,
You
all
have
right,
those
guys,
snacks ready.
let's just have the peanuts and the chips or whatever, and then you've got something to tide, and then just get a nice breakfast the next
Yeah,
morning.
the green M&Ms.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
only green M&Ms.
Love those green ones. Like I can't. I don't know if you can think of anything else that would be good in like a big quantity, or maybe that's just something that you just buy before you head out on tour and sort of keep it in the.
Yeah, it's
the
nice
cooler.
to have like some Costco kind of go-tos, like. But again, I don't think we ever did that. It was more like we would go to Safeway and get like sandwich stuff or whatever. But
Just the easy stuff, the easy,
Yeah.
cheap stuff.
Yep.
I imagine also finding stuff that's on sale would be pretty smart too. Right before you leave, just go to different places and find those sale prices, or go online and search for sales on different sandwich meats and stuff.
oh yeah, well again, yeah, that little 50% mark, that's a good one.
Man, but then you only have it for so long too, so now you're battling. But this is the life of going on tour and doing it frugally.
Yeah, which you kind of have to unless you've got like somebody paying for it.
Yeah.
Like the money goes real quick. in
There's
the-
a
in the
reason we're
gas
talking
tank
about
or-
it today. Yeah, because it can add up.
Or-
That's what we're learning.
Yeah. Okay.
What else
so
we
let's-
got?
Let's keep going here. Okay. We've got the don't order the late night feasts. Okay.
Words to live by. See, I do that twice a week for myself.
That's a danger.
Okay. So
Slippery
yeah.
slope.
Yeah, this is kind of on the other end. So again, when we've had tours where we've pilfered the rider almost too well. So like when we were on that European one, we would always take all the Heinekens, because we're just like, man, you can't. It's free beer. Like I don't want to. Yeah, don't want to pay for this at all. So yeah, we got to the end of the tour. We're in Belgium. We just played our last show, and our driver or whatever was nice enough to drive us to the airport. And then we got to the airport, and we've got our bags. And then we realized like our bags have about 40 beers in them, and like we're in the airport, and then you're kind of like you can't drink them,
Right.
but like it looks sketchy to be putting like liquid things into like, garbage cans in the airport. So like, I feel like it was like a real stressful thing where like, we got to get rid of these and like, so yeah, only take what you need once you're at the end of the tour, because like getting rid of beer, and I feel like it's happened to us a few times, like once in Toronto as well, where we're at the airport and you're like, you don't want to bring beer home and like it's gonna explode, and you can't bring liquids on a plane, and you don't want to at 8 a.m. crush 23 beers or something. So it's like, trying to get rid of these, and I feel like we did like walk around and we're just like throwing them in, like
one in this garbage and one in that garbage.
I'm sure we were like definitely flagged as like people that were.
Mind you, I think out of all the places, and maybe not just specifically Belgium, but Europe as a whole, it might be okay to be drinking beer just sitting in the airport. Like as opposed to a North American.
But again,
like
it's
Canada
too
or the
many.
States
Like
that is
the
true.
problem.
That is true. But,
Like, and that's another thing that carries over as well to vacationing as a whole. Like I've gone to like Mexico, and you load up on all the booze, and then it's time to leave, and you look at the fridge, it's still got like 30 in there, and you got like a full bottle of
it's
tequila.
so painful, but you're like, you just have to leave it.
Yeah, you always I'd always try to give it to people.
Yeah.
It's like, here you go, we're leaving, or like we're in Hawaii and we had friends who were like, here, take this stuff that we still have left, but you're in another country, like way over there, where everything's really different. You don't really know anybody, and you're touring. That's
And who knows? Maybe we just had tour brains at this point where it wasn't even that sketchy. And they're like, man, these Canadians, they're just trying to throw out some beer, but they seem real sketched or whatever. In my mind, it's like we're doing doing this big like, special
covert
big heist, reverse heist, putting it back. The old reversey.
Yeah, hammering home that only get a hotel if you need a shower. Like I feel like it's a waste of money otherwise,
especially with the price of hotels nowadays.
Just sleep in the van unless you need a shower. We would go. I think it was every two. If we went one night without, then we would get. So you're having a shower every 48 hours. It's kind of like it's not bad.
That's like as far as you could probably stretch it out. I feel like day 3 is when it would really pour it on.
And we did the like trucker bird baths and stuff. We did all that, all those moves.
The trucker bird bath.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I think it was Terry Butler from Obituary that referred to it as that. Like he came out, he's like, I just took a bird bath or whatever. I was like, nice move, man. Okay. We already mentioned the drum kit or whatever. Like if you don't want the big drum kit, if you don't need it, because often it doesn't fit on the stage.
Only the necessities.
Yeah.
For the
Snare,
band.
couple toms, Again, if you can get away just the one kick, the double kicks, they look great, but they don't fit on a lot of stages, and often they're left outside because there's no place to keep them in the venue, because there's always like a hard ass, like owner or managers is like, that can't stay here. That can't. And it's like, but it's a completely empty room, sir. Like,
I promise you, nothing will happen.
It can't stay here.
And you can run a double pedal, right, on a single bass, right?
So
you don't need.
It really is.
Definitely would look cool.
And there are some drummers I know that they like the way it feels having two separate kicks. But
well, when you think about it too, when you're practicing, you're more stretched out, right? Like if you're using one bass, then it's
basically
really
either
close.
you've got a double kick pedal where you're still got your feet spread out, but they both go on the one.
Yeah.
Where like
Okay,
the double kick, it's just they're hitting on separate kicks or whatever.
Yeah.
So that one I don't know. I just obviously that was very important to me when I was writing this.
It's
list.
good. It's good.
Okay, we're getting close here, but I've got what do we got here?
As we are hanging out with the All Out of Angst podcast, boys, halfway through the Tuesday edition of your show, we got Matt from all the bands and Uncle Mike from all of his natural products, and we are talking about tips to help you with your band if you're about to go on tour, if it's going to be your first time, or if you're looking to sort of maximize all of the money and the issues, or getting rid of all those issues. This is what we're talking about. The best ways to travel as a band.
Yeah, so I think we're out of I think we went through most of them on the All Out of Angst. So
Perfect.
I don't know if you wanted to
That's
read
good.
them,
No.
we can say that those are my bum tips. And again, I was, after you said what do we want to talk about or whatever, I threw these together, but I know there's good ones, and I was trying to like line them up where they had some stories involved with them.
You did great.
Whatever,
I think that was a fantastic sort of look at what it takes to succeed when you're on the road, because everyone talks about, you can hear all the stories in the world, but no one really gives you pointers and tips on how to maximize that.
Yeah, because I know, like, again, I just always wanted to do this. And I remember the first time when we did our Alberta tour, it was like a 3-day tour or whatever, just the classic Calgary, Edmonton, Red Deer. And it was November-ish, and the van, I think it was like minus 26 that night. But again, you play the show and it's 3 a.m. and you're like, we don't want to load the stuff. So I know I've did this one where I've slept in the van with the gear, during the
protector.
But I will put on like my leather jacket and like my winter boots, and then like go in like a sleeping bag, and you put like toques on top of toques or whatever. But I remember like that feeling that first time we were doing the tour, and I was like, we're actually doing this. And I like was sleeping in a van, and it's like minus 26, and I like literally felt like the coolest guy ever, because I was like, we're doing this is badass, and it's like no one else is willing to do this, but we are. And it's like a point of pride, probably stupid,
badge of honor, man.
But yeah, it's just like it always comes down to you're babysitting the gear, and you can't leave it in the van, so you bring it in late at night, or you have to stay with one.
Yep.
How many people do you think have done that and done the sleeping in the van and then had someone break in?
I've always thought about
Have you heard any stories?
Like, I know when we did that at Montreal, and again, we always swapped. Like, it was either Scott, Marie, or I that would do it, but I'm just thinking of the times when I was in there. But Scott he had one of those, like, police batons, and he's like, we were in a sketchy area. He's just like, keep this by you or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, probably reasonable, because I did think about that. Like, you would hear people walking by. You're like, are they going to break in? Am I gonna have to defend my
It's
territory?
scary, man. I did that when we were working on the movie in Regina, Hollywood Flies, and I slept in a cube van for a month and a half because we were staying at an apartment. My cousin, Big Tall Warren's buddy's apartment, but it was literally like a room. Like, there was not enough room for me to even sleep on the floor. So I slept in this big cube van that we had every night on a sleeping bag on the, I guess it would be like OSB boards on the floor. And you hear everything. And we were in Regina. Like, we were in I was hearing drug deals. I was hearing fights. I was hearing everything. It's like in the movies, I just sit there and cry. Like, it's okay. We'll get there. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be morning. Yeah. And man, when that light would come in, it's like, oh, thank God. And we'd always, like, set call was like 5:30 or 6 a.m. So we were always up pretty early anyway. So it was sketchy, man. And I totally could relate when you were talking about that. It's really weird being right beside all that and just them not knowing you're there.
Yeah, and you get in your head because you hear them talking or whatever. You're like, these guys sound sketchy.
Yeah,
and then
it's crazy.
Got my little baton that I'm like, I don't really know what I would have did with it, but I had it.
Man, all I had was just props from the movie. So I had the couches, when the best nights were when we had a couch. We had like a $2,000 couch in there for a night, and my boss like, whatever you do not sleep on that couch. Like, you got it, boss. The second I got in there, right on the couch, like, oh, this is the best.
What does he think you're gonna do?
Like, he knew my situation, so it was pretty sweet. But just like, we had no real weapons in there because it wasn't really a weapony movie.
Yeah,
but still very interesting. So we're gonna switch gears here now, as Uncle Mike also did his research. You may have noticed that he has been a little quieter on this side because he prepped for the other side of this whole thing, as my favorite band in the history of music, No Effects, is playing their final show this Sunday.
Yeah,
already played it on this past
now
Sunday.
done.
So they are officially done. And there was a quote about how this isn't going to be like a Motley Crue type of thing, I believe. There's something there.
But if you did miss it, which
Yes.
I'm sure most of us did, you can actually live stream it, and it is streaming for the next few days. I think it was maybe streaming for a week or something,
That's
so
on
you
that,
can
like,
catch it
Veep
online.
thing,
Yeah,
or- how do you do that?
Veeps.
Like, do you have to pay for a subscription, or like? I was thinking about it. I was like, I kind of want to see this, but do I have to pay?
Very lackluster research.
Hey,
That
that's
I
okay. That's
did,
what we expect around here.
You know,
That's what we do.
But that's not for me to figure out. That's for you, the listeners at home, to figure out how you actually figure out. I know it exists and it's out there.
I think it's very cool, the idea, knowing that you have so many fans around the world, to let them all see that big final show.
And it really does seem like I've been watching just clips here and there from Facebook or whatever, and it just seemed like a really like family type vibe where you see, like all members of other bands, like up there and giving like big bear hugs, and it just seemed like a really beautiful kind of experience.
Yeah, and man, like it's like what a career, hey? Like just to look at how far they've come. Like I read their book, the biography or whatever, and like just from what those guys came out of, like just all the drugs, like heroin, like they were living in heroin and crack houses, man,
Mhm.
and they were playing shows for like $5 in like the ghetto of like Hollywood and like all these different places, and to be able to get through all that still alive. Like Fat Mike talks about all the time about how many friends he's had to lose. Like he's watched so many of his buddies die, and it's always from just being in the scene and being
Yeah.
a punk rocker. And for them to like basically the OG4, like El Jefe came on in the late, and like Eric Sandin, but like Eric Melvin and Fat Mike were like the heart and soul of this thing. And like just to watch them come up and stay that form of the band for so long, and to put out so many albums, and to just be able to do stuff that you don't normally get to see very often when it comes to musical careers is just such an incredible achievement. So it's very cool, and I'm quite happy that we went to the
Yeah.
second last final tour last
Right,
year.
yes.
As,
I got
supposed to
I
be
got
the last.
FOMO for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
but
I,
and that was just such a last second thing just to
Yeah.
get out there and do that. But it was because we thought it was going to be the last one, right? So then they come
Yeah.
back and do the whole thing, which made me laugh because they're like, "Oh, this isn't going to be one of those, Rolling Stones or
should
Motley
I
Crue."
throw this?
Throw it out
th-
there,
okay,
buddy. Let's hear what he
says,
said.
Fat Mike said, "This is not a final tour like Motley Crue or Black Sabbath." NoFX Fat Mike said in a statement last year, "These are the very last shows NoFX will ever be playing. We're going to play with all of our hearts, with all our joy, and then we're done. We are done. That's what it says. So
And he doesn't mess around when he says something.
Yeah.
It's him saying that, which I always appreciate. So maybe we could touch a little bit on our favorite NoFX songs, perhaps.
I think we should,
that
and then we can
something?
start making this, or like, I don't know if it'll be all out of Manx or this, but yeah, like
A
having
playlist
a song.
Really good songs that we like.
that
Maybe
love
we'll
a theme
post.
and then pick our song.
We could probably post it in the describes or something like that. That's what the kids always do. Oh, look at that! Dragon is very enthusiastically doing the head nod.
Nice.
Like,
And
yes,
I guess,
sir.
just for clarification, veeps.com or something, but
Here we go.
you do have to pay for it. So,
Research.
I probably won't be watching.
Yeah,
The
and
biggest
I think
fans
you can
ones.
watch it for like 6 months or something too. So it's like
yeah.
it's kind of cool, but I'll just wait 6 months and watch on YouTube.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
very
that's exactly.
very cool, and I appreciate that because lots of bands, maybe won't do something like that on their way out.
Well, and I heard, whatever, through interviews or whatever, that, like, I don't know if you've noticed, and I get it, it's your final show, the end of an era, but they monetize every little thing, right? Like, this was, like, I think Fat Mike said, like, he's loaded, right, with Fat
Fat
Records
Records.
and whatever, everything else. Some of the other guys, I'm sure they have done pretty well, but this was like setting up a retirement,
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
Smelly
that's
and
really cool,
Melvin
yeah.
and Hefe,
Yeah.
like this was, so I mean, they were doing, obviously all the shows, all the merch with special merch for each show.
The beer sampling.
Like it
That
was-
we
What was the
messed
beer
up.
sampling?
Oh man, we bought the VIP package, and not knowing what it was. It was
Okay,
like,
yeah.
oh, you get this, that, and like, sweet. And then I was super late getting going the morning of. And when we finally got to the venue, all of the beer sampling had been done, and we had like 40 coupons for beer samples.
all our free beer was
And then,
not used.
Oh.
Not-
But that's okay. We
free beer.
learned. We had no clue what that meant.
That reminds
And-
me when I was watching Megadeth and Moose Jaw, and they sold us 6 beer tickets after the beers.
closed?
Yeah,
Smart.
it's like
Oh.
you shouldn't have sold them if you knew I
It's
couldn't
not
get
fair.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you can make the reservation.
You just can't
Keep
the reservation. Just taking reservations.
Seinfeld. Great show.
Ba-dum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum.
What a great show. All right, who wants to go first? Who wants to talk about their favorite NoFX song?
You want to jump?
No, I don't.
Well, then I'll go. I will
I think
go.
you should go.
Because they are my favorite band. And it's been a journey. For the longest time, it was off the album Punk and Drublick. And it's funny, too, because it's sort of changed around a little bit. But when Perfect Government came out, Remember Perfect Government? The bow, 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 bow. And even if it's easy to
Oh,
be
yeah.
free, what's your definition of freedom? And there's a bunch of F-bombs in there. And it's literally like one of the most political songs ever. And I'm not into politics in any way. Like I could give a crap. And that's just shows how much I love this song because how did the cat get so fat? Why does a family die? Do you care why? Like it literally step by step explains exactly what is happening in the world to this day. And just to be able to learn through that song is such a banger. So that was the song. And then it turned into From So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes, going to that album. And with that one, like there was a bunch of songs in there that I just loved. Like I can't really pick one.
You gotta lock in for one though.
That's the problem. That's why I started with Perfect Government, because I think that would be the one. But there's just so many incredible songs that mean so much when you think about the words and what they're trying to tell and what they're doing. And the other thing too is just Fat Mike being a shitty singer, being like, if you want to get into tonage and get into the actual art of singing, he doesn't really have any of that.
And god-awful.
And he's proud of it. And because he shows that you don't need that shit to be good.
Exactly. And he made it that, like, you know, like that's their thing. And I mean, you know, kind of like last week we were talking about Geddy Lee, and I mean, maybe on a different level of vocal talent, but it's like you hear that voice and you know it's NoFX, or you hear that voice, you know it's Rush, you know, and so it kind of adds to the whole shtick of like what he created in this, like, you know, if anybody with not actual music, like they are musically talented, but I mean like a trained professional in the music, you know, may not see him as a good singer, but to us, like, maybe he's still not a good singer. But
I'm just to defend here, there's a couple things that I'm going to say he is really good at. So, like, being able to spitfire a bunch of words and enunciate them properly in a nice rhythmic pattern, he can do that. He's very good at, like, you know, holding a pitch. So when him and El have
the harmonies,
when they're harmonizing, he's hitting that same pitch, and it's like
there.
It's perfect. But it is nice having El Hef or whatever, like, because he's really actually is quite talented.
Dude, he plays everything.
And like
everything.
I was watching a YouTube video from like a 95 performance, and he's doing harmonies, and like he'll be like, you know, 2 octaves up, and then he'll do one, and he's just like playing with it in his mind, probably, you know, just like freestyling it, and every one of them is a perfect harmony.
And I love when, you know, obviously the album is recorded one way with a certain type of harmonies or a certain level of harmonies, and then you go to see them live, and not just NoFX, but bands in general. And then they're singing, you know, like I always go to sing the harmony as it is on the album, and it's like, oh, no, it's a different harmony because it's a different octave, or it's a different, you know, whatever. Yeah. And it's like,
I know Mark Hoppus from Blink-182. He gets like pretty cute with, you know, like when he's singing the songs, and he'll like go into his verse or whatever, and he'll do a play on it, but then it ends up screwing him because like the way their melodies are written, you know, like you'll have something and then it needs to resolve on like the second part, but he already did that the first time, so it kind of sounds stupid when he plays with it. It's one thing I've noticed a lot watching their live videos, but that's an aside.
So just to recap where I'm at, it was like Punk and Drublic was my favorite album, Perfect Government, favorite song, and then So Long and Thanks for All the Shoes came out, and then just as a whole, it sort of took over for a while, but now those two bounce back and forth. Like, those are the two albums that if anyone ever put a gun to my head and said, sing every word to every song on this album, those are the ones that I could do pretty well, as well as Dude Ranch from Blink-182. Like, I just listened to all of them in that order specifically so many times that you know right where the next one's going into.
I love when you hum the first word or melody of the next song, because you've listened to an album so much.
It's like a big, beautiful hug. Like, it just wraps you up and it makes you so comfy. It's like, oh, I love that. So those are my two albums, and then my favorite song of all time, Perfect Government.
Again, I've always liked the cliche one, so I don't want, like, Linoleum is a fantastic song.
Good. That
like,
was up there.
I think that could probably be in there, and same with, like, even, what is that? please play the song on the radio or whatever. Like I love that
It's not
song
too short, it's not
because
too
it
long.
like tells you how to write a song within it,
Right.
and I just like the leads
oohs and the
yeah,
ahs.
It's all perfect.
Ooh, ah. And then the hilariousness of the ending,
Yeah.
where how you get the guy to play this song on the radio, and then they talk about how none of these guys listen. They just play it because you bribe them or whatever. And then at the end of the song, it's just a big FU to the entire industry,
Yeah.
telling them how stupid it is.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that went on the air in a lot of radio stations back in the day. So they're always getting one in,
Oh yeah.
telling people to
Yeah.
stop being so shitty.
There was, sorry, not to sidetrack
no,
things
please
here.
go ahead.
I cut a video on the Facebook or something the other day, and it was because apparently Sum 41 is done playing as well. I
Or they're
guess.
back. They're coming
doing,
back.
They're doing
They're coming, but
a
isn't it
final
a
tour?
final
yeah.
There you
tour?
go.
Did
Yeah.
you see them cover?
Linoleum?
Oh!
Yes, I know.
It
That's
is-
basically
It
what I
is
want to say.
so good.
That's
Come on.
exactly.
Like you,
Yeah.
you need to hear it. He
Yeah.
like nails Fat Mike's
Yeah.
Dude.
voice to a T.
And not only that, Sum 41, people forget. Like once they sort of went poppy, people forget that Sum 41 went pretty hard when they first started. They were a punk
When
band.
I
man.
saw them in Edmonton, this was Blink-182, Jimmy Eat World, Sum 41, just who's who of all that whole thing. And yeah, they did a minute cover of Rain and Blood. They
Yeah,
did,
that's
like,
what I'm
And they
saying.
did like some Judas Priest.
So
like,
cool.
They are fantastic players, and I actually did a little bit of a deep dive on some of their albums lately, and like it's pretty good. I feel like I kind of slept on some
Me
of it.
too.
Like
That's
I
what I
know
was
they're
feeling.
like candy, and like some of it's like can be a bit weenie, but but yeah. And even their new album, Heaven and Hell, I've enjoyed some of the new stuff on it.
They gave us one on the radio when it came out, and it was decent. Because
Yeah.
one of those songs was like, well, at least I get to play this.
Yeah.
Like it's not this, but at least it's like right here, enough to like get me going
Yeah.
like this a little bit. So
But yeah, you need to hear that Linoleum cover. Like it's quite good.
okay, so we're gonna throw that in as we continue. We're on the final stretch of the Tuesday edition of your show, hanging out with the All That Angst podcast boys, talking about punk rock and more specifically NoFX, who played their final show on Sunday. And you can check it out online if you want to throw a couple bucks to help support the band as they retire. As well, I want to touch on the live albums. I heard they suck live, and they still suck live. And those live albums are so unbelievably good. It was at the time when all the punk bands are putting out their live ones, and like, there's so many of them, and they're all so unbelievably good. But the way NoFX would switch up each song for the place that they're playing in, like LA, and instead they say East Bay and
Yeah.
like Together on the Sand, and they talk about the different types of things where the thumbs go and the fingers go, and just all of these versions that you'll find yourself with, including Linoleum. They switch it up as well during that song when they play it live. And just having that little bit where you and I could be singing the same song, but it'll be different in our heads because we like this version more or that version
Yeah.
more.
Yep.
And it's all there. Like they just go through all of these things. It's such a great career of punk rock.
I'm just gonna go back and say I think my pick though is gonna be Malachi Crunch.
Ooh.
Just because like I really do like all of like any of the main ones that all of us like,
Yep.
obviously. But I just something about that, it resonated with me, like that it starts off with that or kind of like a guitar riff, and then it builds, there's like a chord, and then the punk beat comes
We
in.
were listening to it before, weren't we?
Yeah. But I would say that's gonna be my pick if I have to in
I like that.
2024 say my favorite NoFX song. I'm gonna go with it.
Uncle Mike, the time has come.
Oh, geez. Well, I'm terrible with song names. So
Sing the chorus,
I
we'll
can
tell you.
Sing it for
I'm
you.
also
No.
terrible with song names.
No, but some that stick out at me might be. I mean, I don't know if I could choose.
It's hard,
A
man. When you
favorite
have
one,
when you
man.
have
I don't
such
know.
a
Yeah,
big
yeah.
discography, it's very hard.
Yeah, and like I feel I like a lot of old stuff just as much as I mean, and newer stuff to me, I guess, is not necessarily new, but it's like War on Airism is it's new,
It's funny,
right?
I
Even though
look
it's
at
20
those,
years
I
old.
look
or
at those
whatever,
albums
right?
as newer
Yeah,
ones.
me too. Totally.
But like Sticking in My Eye,
Oh,
yeah. Something
The
Sticking in My Eye.
Bruise, you know,
Yeah.
like I think of yeah, like those.
Sticking in My Eye
those-
was going to be
it's-
another possible
yeah,
choice.
it's-
Yeah.
and I guess like yeah, I mean, just hard to pick a favorite. Favorite for me at 12 or 13 might have been different than favorite for me at 23. And And when you look back, I mean, I think favorite like musicality, but then also just like favorite with like emotions and
They're one of those
what
bands
it
that
emotes out of me. And
your favorite songs change with the mood you're in.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy that they could have that big of impact on how you listen to their stuff.
Yeah.
And that's just another thing. Like recently I really, like big time, almost to the point where it might have taken over Perfect Government, got into 72 Hookers, which is a song about how to fix the world that we're currently in. And we won't get too vulgar with it, but the idea is that most of the people that are causing most of the problems, we're doing this without being political here, but most of the people that are causing most of the problems are doing it because their people or their religion tells them if they do this, they will receive these sexual, trip to this big place where you get all these, virgins. And the whole song is just get all of the ladies of the evening, send them over there. And then they don't have to worry about doing really, really, really world-ending bad stuff to get to a place where they can do all that because these girls will do it for you right here. And it's a classic NoFX sort of trope that it's so crazy it would work.
Mm-hmm.
And as I listen to this song over and over again, it's gotten to a point where I feel it so much. It's one of those like crying songs. It's like, this makes too much sense. Why can't we do this? And then you obviously realize it's like a shtick, but still, to be able to put a thought so unbelievably outrageous out there and have it make sense to people just is such a good sort of check mark on the ability to write songs. And that's the biggest thing. These, like the songs this band writes are just above and beyond anything I would ever come to expect from these guys. Like you look at them and you're like, man, these are just like a bunch of like drugged out like dudes. And they hit all of the most important things, including how to
Idiots are
change the
taking over.
world.
It
Like,
just-
idiots are taking
yeah,
over, yeah, man.
It just-
Another great song.
It
It
just
would've been
boils
on my
down
list.
to the fact that they can write songs that really resonate with people, and like that's the trick that no one knows how to do. How can you write a song that now it's become a soundtrack to my life, and it's become part of me, and like I said, I started playing guitar a certain way because of this, or like if you can have that effect on people by the way you write a song, you did something right.
Yeah.
So
Very
you
well
done
said.
good. You
Here,
done good.
Here, here.
Thank you, NoFX.
All right. One more to go. We got October 18th. Got another show coming to town. And I was talking to my buddy Matt Berg, one of my favorite people in the universe, yesterday. And I think he offered to buy me a ticket. And I think I want to go.
I was just gonna say, do we know anyone that works at Sass Place or for Ticketmaster that can get us, a box
Some sort of-
maybe?
Yeah, the box
or
is perfect,
something?
right? To overcome all the
Or,
anxieties. Because, like, Pennywise is the favorite band ever.
Yeah.
I would love that.
And like, no offense to Dropkick Murphys, I love Dropkick when they came up, and it's just they're sort of overdone for me now. Like every St. Patty's Day for so long, I had to listen to like the same 3 Dropkick songs, and it ruined it for me.
Yeah,
Like
I
most
would
of the
be
bands I've
going
had to
for
play.
Pennywise, for sure.
Exactly. So I'm thinking it would be nice to go. I just don't know how we're gonna get into it. Are you guys wanting to go?
Well, yeah, and I
Want, and I guess can is a different
exactly.
thing,
And
yeah.
I just looked at tickets again today, just because I was like, oh, how much are tickets? And like they're $80 to $100.
See, and that's
you
the-
know,
And that's what it
and-
sucks when there's like one of the bands you want. It's kind of annoying. But both, just as a tie-in, I think both of those bands were on the final NoFX shows, I believe.
I think,
Pretty sure they were.
yeah, because they came through, and because they had a bunch, because Face to Face was with them on the first day
Or
or the
it-
second
it
day
would
with different
switch
days.
throughout.
Yeah,
It mixed,
that's what it
switched
was.
throughout.
Yeah,
It
so
mixed
I don't know if
throughout.
they
It
would have
did a
been
little
with
bit of
us here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I just meant like on the show that was played on Sunday.
Oh, the
Yeah.
final one.
Yeah.
Oh, I
I
don't know.
think, yeah.
That would make sense though
Yeah.
if they're rolling through,
Yeah,
right?
it would. But yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, Pennywise was here. I mean, again, probably 10 years ago, maybe
Feels
15
like,
years
feels like
ago.
yesterday.
They played at Louis, right? So it was like,
With the new singer, and apparently they got the old singer back.
yes.
Okay.
And
yes.
the new singer. It's like a double
Yeah.
singer happy party.
Interesting.
And I mean, I don't know what they made those tickets for $40. you know.
Yeah, you take us to
probably.
a different venue, and it'll
And I
probably
think-
be, yeah.
And who did they? Was it Teenage Bottle Rocket they played with? Maybe does that sound accurate? Maybe Teenage Bottle Rocket
I
was
saw
face
a different.
to face.
I saw them at the Odeon, which was what it was called at the time.
That was the one I saw, too.
And that was with, I think, the Circle Jerks. If that,
Oh, yeah.
I know Noel was there, and he had those shoes. Remember the shoes where the little toes,
The
you know,
toe
like the little
shoes,
toes?
yeah.
And he took them in the mosh pit. Like, who does that?
But that was
Just wanted
like
to feel the
20 years
floor,
ago,
man.
right?
Maybe
Maybe?
15. I don't know. You're right. It's
I forgot about Noel's toe shoes. It's like, man, it's really good for grounding. Like, you can really get in there. Hello to Noel, by the way. I know he watches. We love you and miss you terribly, and we definitely miss the toe shoes that you used to rock. Perfect for the pit.
Yeah.
Man. Well, boys, I think we did a pretty good job here today, covering everything punk rock, carrying over. Again, if you're listening audibly, thank you for doing so, as we did the audio version of the All It Ranks podcast earlier. And this is sort of a carryover for that. By the way, I want to say hi to our friends over at propertyguys.com, where they'll guide you through the buying process as well. They'll also help you receive a rebate from earned commissions and so much more. Say hi to our friends over at propertyguys.com. Also, Nickel Plumbing. Very, very good people over there. Love our friends over at the old Plumbing and Heating Company. Are you ready to party out here, Dragon? All right, he says for sure. We'll see what kind of shenanigans we can get into today. He's moving over. He's moving over. What's that? Oh, go hit the button. Go, Dragon. We forgot
Push
to turn
the
the
button.
transmitter again. We are rolling, so go ahead, boys. We almost made it through without not too many little issues. There it is. Beautiful. What a great show. To Dragoon for hopping in here today and doing such an incredible job on the ones and twos. Thank you so much, my friend, including hitting the transmitter button. To these guys right here. This one. To the left of me. Left on your screen as well. That is the Uncle Mike. You know him from his All Natural Products. Thank you, brother, for showing up and doing another incredible job. The other man right there, Matt from All the Bands, also doing an incredible job. I feel like you must be a little bit sore, hey? You're not really going all in like you normally do. That's good. We gotta slow it down after last week's incredible shirt tear extravaganza. You were fantastic. So I'm expecting big things next week, as we do this every Tuesday, which is very fun. So thank you to everyone for being a part of this and checking it out and supporting us. We always appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We've got some special guests and surprises for you for that show. So be prepared for that. And now we're just going to watch these guys go. I always say traditional and like exotic piano playing is what we're all about right here.
Ray Charles.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Maybe one day I'll do something fun. I guess we have costume season coming up soon, so we could probably get pretty crazy with that. All right. Remember, we say it all the time, do good things, and they will happen to you. We do good things, and then I get these guys in the studio. We start a podcast, we start a show, and now look at us. We're having so much fun. Karma is oh so real. So please, 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 start doing really good things. Let's make the world a better place, and you'll notice those things will start coming back to you, okay? It's just science. Like, it's just fact. So keep that in mind as you head off into your Tuesday evening. Around here, it's so hard not to laugh. Like, I wish I could explain what I feel, but just remember, we love these guys. We love you. Thank you so much again, and we'll be back tomorrow. Have a great night.
Eat the meat.
There it is. Savor the tip.